Hello everyone! Today we're gonna take a look at the competitors for the Nyxi Wizzard Gamecube controllers, the Doyoki controller. Gamecube Joycons have become quite popular, and I wanna see what differences their model have. In the box you get the controller, USB-C cables, and a manual. Together with the controller, you'll also receive 4 different stick replacements. You can mix and match the sticks to change how the controller feels. The sticks are fixed pretty tightly and won't be removed that easily. And the sticks will fix on both sides. One of the models is more elevated for more precision on shooting games. The face buttons uses rubber membranes. And the menu buttons uses clicky switches. The D-pad and shoulder buttons also uses rubber membranes. The shoulder buttons are good and they are easy to press at any point. And the same goes for the triggers. The Doyoki Joycons also have clicky back buttons. And it can also be detached and used sideways as a Joy-Con. But it's not very comfortable to use it like this. These Joy-Cons will be charged by a single USB-C port on the top, unlike the Nyxi Joy-Cons, which you'll have to charge both sides one at a time. It appears that at some point Nyxi planned to have only one port at the top, as you can see the slot here in the shell. In the end it was removed, but the space is still there. The back buttons is a bit larger, but overall the grips feels nearly identical on both controllers. The two sides of the controller have a little bit of wobble, but it won't impact your gameplay experience. It's about the same for the Nyxi Wizzard too. One advantage is that the middle rail from the Doyoki controllers can be used with original Joy-Cons too. And you can even charge your Joy-Cons through that middle rail, and it will detect when the Joy-Cons are fully charged and change the lights to green. This other pair wasn't fully charged, and the light stayed red. On the ergonomics, when you pick this controller up, it will feel exactly like a Gamecube controller. Your fingers will naturally rest in the triggers, and the size and position of the buttons are just right. It just has one problem, precisely with the back of the controller. There is not enough space for your middle finger there, and it feels a little cramped. But I had this exact same complaint with the Nyxi Wizzard. Both controllers have the same crowded grips, which doesn't happen with the original Gamecube controllers. If we compare them side by side, you can clearly see the difference. Sadly, both controllers made the same mistake in their design. But I can say that the face buttons on the Doyoki controllers are better. The Nyxi Wizzard face buttons sink too deep into the shell, and that made the face buttons feel not so good as the original Gamecube controller. But on the Doyoki controller, it is much closer to the original. The only difference that I can feel is that the original buttons have a short travel distance, making the buttons more silent and quicker to activate. These Joy-Cons can wake up the console, and when inserted, it will show up as Indigo Joy-Cons. The system can also be docked with the Joy-Cons on. And when testing the dead zones on the analog sticks, I found that they are pretty weird. It pulls to the center close to the cardinal axis. Also, the gates aren't correctly aligned with the stick directions. And this happens on both sides. I reported that issue back to Doyoki, and they released an update to fix this. To apply the update, connect the Joy-Con to the rail while pressing down on the analog stick. And you have to repeat the same thing to the other side separately. With the update, you'll have those classic dead zones in the axis. But thanks to that, the gates are now correctly aligned. And while I was editing this video, I had to check the dead zone on the original Gamecube controller. And to my surprise, it had dead zones too. I'm not sure if this is something from the Switch or the real Gamecube had these dead zones, but it could explain why shooting games had a bad reputation on the console. On the Dpad test, the diagonals were super hard to activate in this controller. This was another thing that I reported back to Doyoki, and they say that this was already fixed in the future batches of production. The diagonals are impossible to activate, but you'll have to make an extra effort to move diagonally. Also, you have two extra buttons, one for turbo and the other for remapping the back button. The turbo button can also be used to change the vibration intensity. To remap the back button, hold the M button down and press the button you want to remap. And to clean the configuration, just hold down the M button for a few seconds. The turbo speed cannot be adjusted, but you have 3 modes: on, toggle mode, and off. Moving to the teardown, you have to remove 5 screws on each side. Then carefully open the shell. Be careful with this flat cable here. Here, with the shell opened, you can see that this bump for the analog sticks could be reduced by half, because the analog stick don't sink all the way down there. This extra space could make the grips feel a lot better. For the battery, we have 400 mAh of capacity, and the rumble motor is located directly under it. Here you can see the back buttons. And to continue, we'll have to remove these 3 screws here. Here you can see the rubber membranes for the triggers. And the analog sticks are potentiometer ALPS sticks. Here we can see the curious design of the face buttons and the rubber membranes for those. There's not a lot of difference on the other side besides the position of the analog sticks. And here's a look at the D-pad. For my final thoughts, the Doyoki Joycons are okay. It doesn't offer anything premium like the Nyxi Wizzard with Hall effect sticks and the backlit face buttons, but it offers a few advantages of its own, like the middle rail being able to charge your Joy-Cons and the face buttons being better than the Nyxi Wizzard. Unfortunately, in the category of comfort, both controllers made the same mistake. The Nyxi Wizzard is slightly more comfortable than the Doyoki, but both of them lose hard for the original Gamecube controller. And that's it for this review. Currently, the Doyoki Joy-Cons is selling for $10 less than its competitor on their website. I'll be leaving the links in the description for you to check it out. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.